Let the forces of light bring illumination to mankind. Let the spirit of peace be spread abroad. May humanity of goodwill everywhere meet in a spirit of cooperation. May forgiveness on the part of all mankind be the keynote at this time. Let power attend the efforts of the great ones. So let it be, and help us do our part.
Okay, we are live, and I do believe we have everything working. Let me just check one more thing here. Okay, I think that's a little better. All right, so today I'm going to cover quite a bit of stuff. This is mainly going to be about the process of what's going on today in the world, and which most everybody, because of what I'm going to explain to you, everybody's very interested in what's happening in Israel and the terrible Palestinians called Hamas are out to kill all the Israelites, all the Jews. Yeah, they're really bad people. Yeah, and the President of the United States, Trump, who used to be president, he declared that Israel is a Jewish state, and that Palestinians, Muslims, are just kind of like visiting, and they can live there if they're nice. And no comment on Christians. Used to be that in that land, it used to be mainly Muslim, and then Christian, and then Jewish. That was the population. Nobody was angry at anybody. It was just everybody was there, and it was fine until about 1913, and Zionism was created, which is not Judaism. Zionism. It's a different way of looking at Judaism. It rewrites the Bible, just like Christians rewrote the Bible. And and where Christians can look at the Bible and eliminate things, say God didn't say anything about homosexuality. God didn't say anything about Adam and Eve. God didn't say anything about men and women being married, and that's God's actual gift to humanity. Nope, doesn't say that in the Bible. So we can have gay pride, and we can do all the things we're doing, and still think that we're Christian or Jewish. But Zionists are atheists. That's the truth. That they're atheists. They're not a religious group. They're atheists who chose as Jews to rewrite the purpose of being a Jew, which was superiority, being chosen. And Israel's theirs. Nobody else's. And because they're a fanatical process, then they see that this is a religious war. So killing these evil parasites is a good idea. Yeah, led by God. Yeah, get rid of the Muslims. Get rid of, anything that's against us, like Palestinians. Get rid of them. Yeah. And make a Israeli state called Israel, of all things. I mean, these are just people who are Jews, who are Israelites from the time of Moses, and they've been practicing for over 2,000 years Judaism. But if you have any idea, I know none of you do, because you're not Jews. And if you were Jews, you could be a Jew like Krishner, Eric Krishner, and where he thinks he's a Jew, his mom's a Jew, his dad's a Jew. Yeah, but he also is a Zionist. He's not a religious man. He's an atheist. But he's a Jew. Well, that means that he is chosen. Yes, who else is chosen? His father-in-law, Trump. Chosen. Yeah. So we got two major chosen people here. A Zionist Jew, very rich. Father was given a pardon by Trump while he was in prison for tax evasion and corruption. And Krishner was given one of the highest positions in the cabinet of Trump's office. And come to find out, he couldn't get his security because he's corrupt. And he's a Zionist, which means he blatantly lies. Now, I'm going to show you that to be a Zionist, you must choose lying over the truth. And it's propaganda to the highest level. And it has a reason and everything. It's the apartheid. Remember the apartheid from South Africa? The English came in, all English, kicked out the black people, put up signs, whites pee here and blacks pee here. And, separation, put them in small little towns, ghettos, and keep moving them around for your own need, because you're taking over South Africa. Remember, Elon Musk is from South Africa. So we've got a historical scenario of that sort of thing. Apartheid. Apartheid's where a country comes in and takes over the people who live in that country. Kind of like colonization. So think of it. There are more groups that you can think of that are apartheid, and they're existing today. And nobody did anything about them, and yet apartheid is a crime against humanity. It's legally a crime against humanity. If you're caught. And Israel is apartheid. In the middle of apartheid, in the middle of doing more to destroy more people who are from Israel. And it's not Israel, it's Palestine. The name of the place is Palestine. And then there's China. All of China, big place. Emperors everywhere and all over, Mongolia and China, everything. But if you go through time, this Tibetan group comes together and they start formulating an apartheid. And they take over major portions of China, calling it Tibet. And they do it with slavery. The people who live in Tibet were taken over by these people who call themselves hierarchy of Tibet, the Dalai Lama. Yeah. And there are an apartheid. Yeah. They gathered all the people. They subtracted them from being able to do any voting, and they made them slaves. Study it. Until 1950, 95% of the people who lived in Tibet, who were not lamas or Tibetans, were indentured slaves due to the apartheid. Yeah. And China, came in and said, this is an apartheid, this is slavery, and this is our country. So they did an apartheid and did the same thing to Tibet did to the Tibetan people. And everybody goes crazy over China, but they don't say anything that the Dalai Lama was doing the same thing. And India, and England, and America. All apartheids. Look at America. What did Columbus do? An apartheid. Yeah. He started wiping away indigenous peoples like Israelis coming to Palestine. And saying, oh, these Palestinians, they don't really belong here. We were here 5,000 years ago. But they leave their religion behind. 2,000 years ago, the temple went down. And they were told by God to leave. And don't seek to come back. It's in their Bible. And they're to go to every nation and deliver peace by prayer. And be peaceful people. Not desiring to take over any country whatsoever, including Israel, or Iran, or Egypt, or Iraq, or any other country. Yeah. They're holy people. Yeah. Under the influence of God. So they're supposed to pray all day. And they're supposed to live by the commandments. And to them, there's over 100. So real Jews who follow the true Jewish faith are like that. They actually do not like Israel, and they absolutely do not like the Jews who present themselves as Zionists. They believe that it's the evilest thing and an embarrassment to Jewish people. All rabbis think that. But you don't know that. You're told by Kushner, you're told by Netanyahu, you're told by all these people that you're an anti-Semite, that you're against Jews, or if you're against homosexuals, you're paranoid. Homophobia. Yeah. You hate Jews. You hate homosexuals. You're hate. And yet you're not. You're simply trying to follow God's rules. And these people aren't. They're atheists. Dalai Lama is an atheist. Yeah. Look what the Pope has done. No different. Yeah. He does nothing about homosexuality. He even says it should not be illegal. And he's made sure it's not. Because every single guy who screws all these little boys gets away with it. They never go to jail. Because he doesn't believe it's illegal. That's kind of strange. But it's the truth. These people are freaking evil. And they're doing everything to cover it up, using religion. Dalai Lama is using religion. Many Rinpoches are not holy. They're not religious. They're not spiritual. If they were, if you're a Muslim, if you're a Jew, if you're a Buddhist, you should be led to Jesus Christ. If you're spiritual, it's the evolution of a soul. It's not a bunch of separate gods. It's not a bunch of separate religions. We're human beings made in the likeness of God, and our representative is Jesus the Christ in order to know God. Yeah. You know, so that's a reality. We're all in that reality. And there's a lot of people affected by this. Here's a guy that, let's see, let me make sure I get the right one. There's a lot of people that, you know, in the process of Israel, Palestine has become a negative scenario. Today, they're called Hamas, you know, and you got to get rid of all the Palestinians. Got to, you know. And so people generally are led to believe that this is all okay by Israel. Not a problem. Yeah. And there are no focuses on Christians in Israel. Muslims okay, Arabs okay, Jews okay. But no one, absolutely nobody sticks up for the Christian. They're not okay. Yep, that is what Zionism is. It's not about getting rid of Arabs. It's not about getting rid of Muslims. It's about eliminating Christians. 100%. And then they wipe out whoever they can who are supposed to recognize Christ. Muslims, they're supposed to recognize Christ when he reappears. That's in their Quran. Yeah. You know, so the process of Arabs, if you study Arabs, a great deal of Arabs are Christians, even though they were Muslims. But they became Christians too, and they lived in Palestine. Never was called Israel. It's Palestine. That's the name of the place. Well, guess who's from Palestine? The Palestinian. And that's Jesus, the Palestinian. So no one talks about Jesus, Palestine, Bethlehem, Jerusalem, the place on the cross, yeah, the tomb, the life of Jesus in that land is what made it holy. Yeah, if you don't pick that one up and focus only on that, the sacrifice of God's Son to that place which was fulfilled, and you leave all that out, and you say, oh, Muslims are terrible, oh, Jews are this or that, oh, but we don't even talk about Jesus, because who can walk on water? Who can come back from the dead? Who's born without a mother? Certainly can't exist, especially to atheists, Zionist Jews, or Tibetans. Talk to a Tibetan. Talk to any Rinpoche. Ask him, what do you think of Jesus Christ? Nothing. Nothing. They're not influenced by spiritual reality. They're not. By the highest master on the planet. They're not connected. They're connected to a false prophet. And all the Rinpoches are connected to false prophets. None of them, I know only one who knows Jesus. Knows Jesus. And willing enough to say, oh, you're Jesus, reincarnated. You know? And he's a very high Rinpoche. But he's not running around telling people to believe in Jesus. He's not saving any souls. He's not changing Buddhism. He's just dealing with the fact that he met Jesus and realized that Jesus is here. And he's Buddha Maitreya. What a shocker. You can't get around your teacher, which is Buddha, returns as Buddha Maitreya. It's hard for you to not recognize that when that externalization takes place. But since you've been programmed to never think or recognize the Christ, then you're Antichrist. You're neutral. You're following false prophets that lead you away from the truth. That's an apartheid. That's the effect of an apartheid. Yeah. So imagine we have Mr. Kushner. Yeah. How is he involved with Israel? Well, he's a Jew, yeah, and he's also a Zionist, which means he's one rich Jew. And, we all go, well, rich Jew, that's common. Not for Jews. Not really. Not really. They're humble. A good Jew is humble. They practice religion incessantly. And if you talk to a real Jew, they're calm, they're nice, they're friendly, they're kind, they're generous. They're none of the things that we think. They're greedy, they're selfish, they're corrupt, they lie. Those are Zionist people. And the Jews hate them. But this is the head of the Zionists I'm going to show you. Netanyahu, the head of Israel. And he brings Trump and Kushner to Israel to increase Zionism and get rid of the Palestinians. He does that. Check this out.
When President Trump first called upon you to advance his efforts to bring peace to the Middle East, all the experts, the so-called experts, belittle your appointment. By the way, I ask you, don't take it personally, they do it to me too. Now, you can say, I can say, how wrong these naysayers were.
All the experts, all the rabbis who are not Zionists, all the people who know qualifications, looked at this guy Kushner, who is obviously a corrupt liar. And they didn't want him. But because he can fulfill the need of Zion, he became a major ambassador of not only Israel, but Arabia. Billions of dollars he got from Arabia on the day of January 6th.
You can be proud of your contribution to normalizing Israel's relations with the Arab and Muslim worlds and for peace in the Middle East.
Okay, where's the Christians? We're talking Palestine. But they eliminate the word Palestine. Focus on Israel. When you say Israel, you're saying Jew. Nobody else. We'll let the Muslims in because they own the freaking place. But we'll get rid of them. But we will not mention Christianity because that's an incarnation of God. And we don't believe in God. Period.
Mark, can you read this? Somebody? No?
It says, in recognition of Jared Kushner, Senior Advisor to the President of the United States, for his...
Imagine that. He is the senior advisor to our President of the United States. And he could not get a security clearance because he's highly corrupt, and his father was taken out of prison, pardoned for his crimes against humanity.
Historic contribution to the Abraham Accords, the normalization of Israel's relations with the Arab and Muslim world.
That accord is the accord to get rid of Palestine and turn it in to Israel. Eliminate any historical reality behind Palestine. Eliminate it.
And to peace in the Middle East.
Thank you. You're more short-sighted than me. Thank you.
The only purpose. So let's take a look at Mr. Zionist. Yeah, Mr. Kushner.
You understand why the Palestinians don't trust you?
Look, I'm not here to be trusted. I'm here to.
Well, you are, frankly. I mean, to look at it from.
He's not here to be trusted. Look at his cold-ass face. He's not here to be trusted. He's an ambassador. He communicates between people in order to raise their ability to trust. But he's not here for trust. What's
Their
he
point
here
of view, and you're a businessman, you always look at things from their view. You've got 3 Orthodox Jews on the negotiating team. 2 of you have at different points funded settlements, Jewish settlements in the West Bank.
These aren't Jews. They're Zionists. And they're claiming to be Jews. He's claiming to be a Jew. He's not. A Jew is a religion, a specific religion that goes back to Moses. He has no connection to that. He is an atheist.
Got the actions you've taken so far, moving the US Embassy in Israel to Jerusalem. You've cut all aid to the Palestinians, including hospitals in East Jerusalem. And you've shut down the Palestinian diplomatic office in Washington. I mean, can you not?
Can you not imagine why they're angry? Why they hate you, Mr. Kushner? Yep. Okay, now remember, this is a while back, and only by months. This is a while back. And he initiated these processes. He shut down electricity. He ended their access to hospitalization and medical. Yeah. He did all these things. But if you watch the news yesterday, it says none of these things happened until after Palestine attacked. And in result of their attack, these things then happened. And it's not true. They happened months before. Yeah, a lot more happened. Yeah. So, and they have to listen to this guy. So what goes on? All right. So the President of the United States and Kushner and Netanyahu decide that they're going to literally move the embassy to Jerusalem, making Jerusalem a senior position for Israel. Senior position. No longer anything to do with Jesus. Bethlehem? Nope. Nope. No Jesus, no Bethlehem. He wasn't born. Place just as Bethlehem, nothing. Jordan? Nah, Jordan's nothing. Jordan's a bad place. Oh, John the Baptist? Nah, we don't know of him. Nope. Never happened. Yeah. 12 disciples off the Jordan River? Oh, no, we don't know anything about that. Yeah, no, don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Because they're Zionist. They're atheist. They have no relationship to holiness. They're stealing land like people from England, like people from America who took over all the native Indians. Imagine you take native Indians and you put them in tribes. Well, wouldn't that be called a ghetto? Yeah? And you take them and put them there, and you don't allow them legal rights. You take away their legal rights to hunt, to water. They're only, what they get is what the government says is allowed, not natural. Not like, oh, this is your land. You know, you can hunt as wide as you want. Yellowstone used to be all Blackfoot. I'm Blackfoot. Yeah, so I know a lot. I'm a Buddhist from Tibet. I'm an American Indian from America. All my groups have been taken over by apartheid because they're anti-holy. The Native Americans were a very holy group of people. Palestinians were a very holy group of people. Jesus was an extremely holy man. John the Baptist was a holy man. The 12 disciples were holy men. Holy events took place. Yeah? The 10 Commandments were in Jerusalem, held at the Temple of Solomon and also at the Mount. It's a holy place because of Jesus, because of Moses, because of Adam and Eve, because of God. Not a chosen situation, a real situation of our history, true history. Not Tibetan history, or the Pope's history, or the Dalai Lama, or Netanyahu. They're all false histories, making up ownership, reasons for taking over land and killing people. Telling everybody that they are your persecutor. The Palestinians. Don't even mention the word Christian. If you go into Israel and you ask people, what do you think of Jesus? They all say, I don't know anything about him. I heard about him, but he's left out of our books. We know nothing, only what we heard. And we have no interest in finding out anything, because it's all myth. It's fake. He walked on water. Not possible. He resurrected from death. Not possible. You know, to an atheist, none of these things are possible. To a person like the 12 disciples, or the people who knew Jesus and witnessed him, you know, he made it possible. He blew away, even, John, who was the doubter, doubting Thomas, or Thomas. He just couldn't believe it, even though I was standing there. Yeah, because this is a very strong process of the dark forces. People like the Antichrist, atheist, God-fearing people who hate God and will do anything to make sure no one believes God exists. So in the Bible, they have many things that you shouldn't do. And it says in the Bible, one of the biggest things you shouldn't do is a man with a man, a woman with a woman, and two men marrying, It says that it's the worst abomination to God. And the outcome of it is that you're to be put to death. That's heavy. There's not a lot of things in the Bible that, you do that you have to be put to death for. That's pretty heavy. Sodom and Gomorrah, a whole place was wiped away. So it's a little much when it comes down to holy people who follow, the Jewish text. And it says, we can't do this. So they don't. And Muslims, where they say, no, we can't do this. It says it right here. We can't. Christians says, no, we can't do this. It says it right there in the Bible. God says you cannot. God has rules that we can follow. But the number one rule is actually put in God's face and made to humiliate God, called pride, gay pride, LGBT. You can add letters to it as to how gay you are. I am lesbian. I am bisexual. I am transgender. I am gay. LGBT. And they're all just saying, rip that page out of the Bible. And that's what they did. That's what they did in America. That's what they did in England. That's what they did in Israel. A good 80% of the people in Israel are gay. Gay. That's crazy. That's insane. But yet, if you go to Palestine, nobody's gay. You're not allowed to be gay because they're holy. They want to stay holy. But when you're an atheist, you don't give a shit. You're going to lie and you're going to do whatever you want. And you're going to have pride in doing it, like taking over an entire country, changing its name from Palestine to Israel, and kill all the Palestinians as though they're attacking you. None of it's true. None of it's true. So imagine what happens when you're in Palestine. The rules of engagement is that nobody's gay in Palestine. If you are, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. Nobody's going to get married, a gay couple in Palestine. It doesn't matter if it's Muslim, it doesn't matter what. It is a holy process written in the Bible. You don't do that. Plus, you shouldn't kill other people, innocent people, all these things. So this is what a rabbi says. His feelings about Palestine.
أيام يحتفل المسيحيون في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها بعيد الميلاد، وسوف تزدان شوارع وساحات المدن الأوروبية والعالمية بالأنوار والأشجار والزينات إلى آخره. أنا أود أن أذكر المسيحيين في كل أرجاء العالم بأنه لا معنى لاحتفالكم بالعيد إذا لم تلتفتوا إلى فلسطين التي هي أرض الميلاد والأرض التي منها انطلقت الرسالة المسيحية إلى مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. مغارة الميلاد في بيت لحم، النور الحقيقي نور الميلاد سطع في بيت لحم، وبالتالي نداؤنا نوجهه إلى كل الكنائس المسيحية شرقا وغربا بضرورة أن تدافع عن فلسطين، عن أطفال فلسطين، عن قضية فلسطين.
Yep. And when you're a holy person, that's what you believe. You know Christ. You know history. You know he was born in Bethlehem. He had 12 disciples. He died on the cross. And he resurrected from dead. It's history. It's in history all over Israel. It's in history all over India. It's in history in Tibet. People all around the world believe it. You know, so it doesn't take the highest person on the planet to come to this realization. It's a common thing, actually a common thing. You know? But you have to do things in order to get people to leave it. And you got to give them a lie. In Israel, the process of Christians, I explained that the Zionists, I'm talking Jews, I'm talking Zionists, who believe that what is a Jew is God-given. And the land is God-given, Israel. Yeah. And their process of being able to be in Israel is because they believe in this lie that they are chosen and the land of Israel is chosen for them, and no one else is meant to be on that land. And if they are destroying the sacred reality of the lie. So the process for Christians, and Krishna doesn't even mention Christians. He says, we'll allow Arabs, we'll allow Muslims, but that's it. What about Christians? The whole place is based on Christianity for the last 2,000 years. Christians are being beaten.
La statua dalla nicchia e per arrivare per terra.
Statues are being ripped off the wall of Christ, thrown to the ground, and the statue is being broken. The face is broken, a leg is broken.
La gamba e alcune parti del corpo. Poi quando la statua è arrivata per terra, lui aveva un martello che poi abbiamo trovato.
They took a hammer to Jesus' statue.
Col quale si è avventato contro il volto di Gesù.
We do see an increase of attacks. Not only an increase of number, but also the way the attacks are done. They're done often in broad daylight, going into churches. You know, there's no shame or even hesitation at times when it comes to these types of attacks.
They hate God. I know if you say something like that, you know, it's like, wow, how can you say someone hates God? They're atheists. They call themselves Jews because they're Jews. They are Jews. They're born Jews. They're raised Jews. Their mother and father's Jew. But they're not Jews. They're Zionist cult who believes in a false religion that allows them to decree themselves as the chosen ones. And we're all chosen. That's, if you read the Jewish Bible, it states, in the real Jewish Bible, it points out that there is a time that we all are blessed by the Messiah. That we all come under the grace of the Messiah. Not just Jews, they're not chosen. They even say that. And nowadays, they even had the biggest question in order to create a complex of lack of identity, lack of belief, lack of truth. Was Jesus even born in Palestine? Right, because Palestine is something you want to get rid of. And if it happens to be the headquarters of Jesus, well, kind of puts a little kink in your theory about it being good and about it being about Israel. So you have to discredit Jesus' affiliation with Palestine. Literally today, it's believed that Jesus is not from Palestine. Check this out. And they're fighting for it. They're coming across truth.
من هنا انطلقت الديانة المسيحية على أنه هذه المدينة هي محط أنظار كل العالم لأهميتها ولدورها التاريخي لتراثها. يعني المسيح فلسطيني في النهاية.
Strong belief about Jesus being from Palestine and the events that took place from Jesus. It wasn't a short event. 12 disciples were left after it. They went all over the place. They started the Bible. They created Christianity. Yeah, on top of Judaism, using Judaism as their foundation. Not separating, not hating, not saying that these are evil and we're good. Not at all. But Zionists cannot in any way, shape, or form think about it. So there's a very big homosexual movement in Israel and in New York and in England and all around the world. A lot of atheists. They're not the majority of in any way, shape, or form. But because they're atheists, they recruit, they rape, they steal, and they call it war. Yeah, just like the Zionists, they go to war, and they say that we're only retaliating and paying back the evil Palestinians that attacked us. But that means you have to erase the entire history of the Israeli people and England and France of their declaration in 1948 and the war of 1967 to eliminate and eradicate Palestine. And at the same time, build on homosexuality. Build on homosexuality. And what do they say? What's with these homosexuals? Yeah. How could homosexuals be dangerous?
Participants recently held a parade in New York City where they made it clear they're queer and they're coming for your children. Our first president would have swallowed his wooden teeth. No wonder parents are pushing back against gender fluidity instruction in public schools. Christians are standing up, not discriminating against gays, but against childhood indoctrination. They're also opposing unrestricted abortion, and for that, churches are under attack. The most recent, $100,000 in damages done to the Fowler's UMC Church in Anne Arundel County, Maryland. We don't know if the vandals acted simply out of anger against God or because the church had taken a moral stance on a controversial issue.
Yep. Christians are under attack. Well, didn't Jesus say that's exactly what's going to happen? And for a good reason. Because atheists exist. The Antichrist is coming and is here. take a look. We have a process that happened. See if I've got it here. Oh yeah. Okay, check this out. Now, we all know Trump is on a bandwagon for making America great. And he wanted to be president under that and everything. But what's he involved with? He's not a Jew. Why is he involved with Zionists? His son-in-law is the head of Zion State, works with the head of the Zions in Israel. So what's Trump got to do with that? He's an American. He's not even Jew in any way. He's supposed to be Catholic. His daughter is supposed to be Catholic, but guess what? She became a Zionist Jew. From Catholic to Zionist Jew, that is overwhelmingly Antichrist. Big time. Anti-Jew and Antichrist. That's like, you can't get your head around that, right? So what's Israel up to? Their process with Trump is that he's going to make Israel great. Trump, make Israel great again. Trump is a friend of Zion. Trump and Netanyahu. I can show you signs all over Israel where it says Trump is the king of Israel. And we know Jesus is the king of Israel. But in Israel, signs everywhere, Trump is the king of Israel. What? That's crazy. And then what does he do? He decides to move the embassy. Well, you think anything's going to happen? You know, everybody's just going to go, great idea, let's do this. Palestine went to war just a few days later and killed enormous people. And then tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people were then destroyed in Palestine after they did this in Jerusalem. Here we go. Kushner's little lady comes and she inaugurates the new place in Gaza. Look at this. At least 58 Palestinians were killed and more than 2,700 injured in Gaza as deadly protests took place ahead and during the ceremony in Jerusalem, making it the deadliest day there since 2014 Gaza war. And she's just smiling. She's a cause of a war that's happening all around her. She knows she's the cause of it. Her husband was on TV making it happen. Yeah. Trump goes and puts a sign up everywhere, pro-Zion, yo America. When Palestinians, the violence could deepen shortly after that. The Palestinians marked that they called the Nakab, which is called catastrophe, in memory of the 700,000 Palestinians who were either driven from or fled their homes in 1948. And then again in 1967, a bigger Palestinian incursion happened from Israel into Palestine. This is all Israel into Palestine. It's not the other way around that they're presenting. There's not the other way around. They're simply trying to get their houses back. But you don't get that. Check this. This is Harvard. Yeah? Well, Harvard. they got to be smart. They got to know what is Israel and what's going on with Israel and Palestine. They should be very angry at Palestine because obviously Palestine is the evil one, taking out all the bad, good Jews. They're anti-Semitic. Are they? It's an apartheid regime. We know it, and the world's going to know it.
The root cause of what we see today is the continuation of Israeli illegal occupation of Palestinian land. The fact that the West Bank is still occupied after 56 years and becoming the longest occupation in modern history, an occupation that has transformed into a system of apartheid. Gaza is also under another form of occupation, besieged from every direction. And now Israel is declaring that Palestinians are animals and imposing a complete and total siege on Gaza, depriving people from food, from medications, from water, from electricity. A whole population of 2.2 million people are punished today. And I don't think that the killing of civilians in Israel justifies now killing the Palestinians in Gaza and then blaming Palestinians for the fact that Palestinians are killed. This is unacceptable. And dehumanizing Palestinians is unacceptable. The way out of this is different. It should be immediate de-escalation, immediate exchange of prisoners, immediate ceasefire, and then finding a way of ending this occupation.
For people who are unclear from afar exactly what the unrest is about, is it clearly boiled down to a land dispute, or is it far more complicated than that?
No, it's about violation of international law. As I said, Palestinians are subjected to Israeli illegal military occupation, and this illegal occupation has transformed into a system of apartheid, according to Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and even Israeli human rights organization B'Tselem. This is a much worse apartheid than what prevailed in South Africa at one point of time. More than that, Mr. Netanyahu has been doing everything he could since he came to power in 1996 to kill the possibility of peace. This is a very simple case of people who are occupied, people who have been oppressed for 56 years. My grandfather, my father, myself, and my daughter have never seen a day of freedom. And what Palestinians need is equality like everybody else. What we need is our right to be independent, our right to be free from any oppression and from the system of occupation.
So while all this is going on, this nice little Zionist Israel is packing in as many nuclear bombs as they can possibly hoard and not tell anybody. By ships that have more missiles on them that could wipe out a circular 1,700-mile radius. Anything within 1,700 miles. And at least 30 strategic nuclear weapons on each one. They can travel the earth and sit, and these are submarines. Travel the earth and sit without anybody knowing where they're at and decide to create a nuclear war. As a Zionist group of idiots, evil, intended people who are taking over a country right now and killing people left and right with no one doing anything about it. And there's quite a few people who are afraid that what is going down is a process that the Zionists are plotting without anybody knowing what's going on. Let me pull up a couple things here.
In other words, apartheid. Apartheid is a loaded word tied to the racist South African regime of white minority rule. But although the word comes from there, apartheid isn't just a description of what happened in South Africa. It's actually a crime against humanity under international law. In 2021, Human Rights Watch accused Israel of carrying out apartheid. It based this accusation on the 1973 Apartheid Convention and the 1998 Rome Statute, which say that 3 elements have to occur for the crime of apartheid to apply. They are an intent by one group to dominate the other, systematic oppression by one racial group over another, and one or more inhumane acts, like denying people the right to leave and to return to their country, expropriation of landed property, and the creation of separate reserves and ghettos.
Now we know that's exactly what's happened. Yeah. If you look at this, you'll see the Palestinian citizens of Israel, East Jerusalem, West Bank, and Gaza. Now this is where they're allowed to go. And those are really small sections. If you're in Gaza, you're at the lowest level, and there's nothing. It is poverty beyond belief. Yeah, it is a real dank place to exist. You can't move forward. You can't start businesses. You can't have a home without it being torn down. And then the next place, which isn't a good place, is East Jerusalem. Really small. But that's another place where Palestinians can live. Yep. So you get these badges that allows you to live in one of these 4 places if you're Palestinian. This is not the case for Israelites, for Jews. Only Palestinians. So they get these tags that allow them to go across borders and go to work someplace or not. If you're in Gaza, you cannot leave Gaza. You can't leave Gaza. You can't move out of Gaza. You can't move to the next biggest place. You can't build a house someplace. They'll come and tear it down. If you get to East Jerusalem, you're in the same boat, and they're coming to get you. If you're at the West Bank, which is right in the Israeli territory, that's where Jerusalem's at. And that's now where the capital of Israel is at. But yet, that's a major Palestinian area. Yeah. So if you're given rules of regulation that you can live in these places due to the fact that you're Palestinian and you're limited to where you can live, that once you are no longer in one location, like you're in Jerusalem, something happens, they take your house, they take your job, they take your business, they kill all your family, and you're the only one left, and you got to get out of there. So you choose to go to the East Jerusalem. And the same thing happens there. And you can't leave East Jerusalem and go back. You can't go back. So now you moved, keep going. And now you're at Gaza. At the very edge, where all the hostile, angriest of all Palestinians are sitting. Because they're persecuted and they're left out of their homeland, out of everything in life. And everybody in the world doesn't give a shit about them. They care about the Jews. Jews were in the Holocaust. Jews are this and that. But there's two Jews. Who are these people that are Zionists? What are they known for?
Country which was made up of 90% Palestinians to European Zionists. They gave it just like you would give a box of chocolates. Historians still debate till this day why the British gave Palestine to Zionists. It's simply baffling. Now, at this point, the Jewish population in Palestine was less than 10%. So when the British started to facilitate the immigration of European Jews to Palestine from 1922 and 1935, the Jewish population rose to 27%. With the British mandate in full swing, mass European Jewish immigration meant that more land would be seized and the native Palestinian population grew increasingly worried. The Palestinians would demonstrate their concerns to their British overlords, but they wouldn't have it. European Jewish settlement was on the rise. The British proposed a partition of Palestine and even advised the forceful removal of the Arab population from their homes. And yes, this was their plan to resolve the issue. So the Palestinians naturally rejected this proposal and revolted against the British. The revolts were crushed violently, killing thousands of Palestinians. But the Palestinians wouldn't give up. They would continue their fight for independence, and the British were clearly fed up. So in 1947, the British decided to hand over their responsibility for Palestine to the United Nations. So basically, they just said, here, clean our mess. And so the UN proposed this ridiculous proposal again, where Palestine will be partitioned into a Jewish and Arab state. Remember, Jews in Palestine only constituted 1/3 of the population, most of.
Now, there is no Christian in this plan. None. These are Palestinians who are a mix of Muslim and Arab. They're also Christians, but they don't include Christian as a title of anything.
Whom arrived from Europe just a few years earlier. Yet, in this proposal, they were allocated 55% of the land. Feeling like they got a bad deal again, the Arabs rejected the proposal, and the Zionists accepted. However, here's the catch. The Zionists didn't agree to the proposed borders, and even campaigned for more land. So they agreed to an Israeli state, but didn't agree to the size of it, so they can just choose it for themselves. By 1948, Zionist militia would storm and capture Palestinian populated villages and cities, leaving thousands of Palestinians homeless and landless. The Zionists wanted to seize and cleanse as much land from Palestine before the British would officially withdraw their forces. And on the same day that they left, the Zionists proclaimed the establishment of the new Israeli state. Overnight, millions of Palestinians lost their country. And what's even more bizarre is that immediately the two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, recognized the new state of Israel. And if it couldn't get any worse, May 15th, 1948 was perhaps one of the darkest days in Palestine's history. They called it the Nakba, or the catastrophe. To lose your country, your identity, and your home just like that is something truly horrifying. But that wasn't enough for those Palestinian men, women, and children. They had to be ethnically cleansed from their lands and driven into near total destruction. See, the creation of the State of Israel didn't just mean that 1.9 million Palestinians were forced out of their homes. Didn't just mean that 78% of historic Palestine had been taken from its natives. Didn't just mean that 530 villages and cities were destroyed and ethnically cleansed. And didn't just mean the killing of 15,000 Palestinians in a series of mass atrocities. It means that it was the start of something even more horrifying for the Palestinian people. It signaled over 70 years of occupation, home demolitions, arbitrary arrests, displacements, Israeli expansion, military checkpoints, construction of walls, discrimination, massacres, and bombing of innocent men, women, and children in their own homes. So no, it's not complicated. The Palestinians are a people who have been oppressed and had their lands taken away from them and have been suffering ever since. This is how the events of the past shape the conditions of today. This is why it is important to remember and reflect our history before it repeats itself again.
Yep, and that's the truth. Yeah. We need to do something about it. Yeah. We don't go to war. Yeah. We don't go to war with Israel. You're all bad. You're apartheid. No. We go in a tribal process. We have a tribunal. And we choose that human rights have been completely jeopardized. And we look at it. Yeah. And we have a court. And we bring Netanyahu and the Zionists into court. And we look at this whole thing as a rule of engagement of law so that we can have peace on earth. It's the same thing with dealing with Trump. We bring him into court. We verify the truth. Zionists are liars. They're there because they're lying to be there. Trump is a liar. He became president as a liar. George Santos is a liar. He became congressman as a liar. He should go to court. And we should have our justice. God is only about justice, not vengeance, but justice. Justice is everything. And I'm going to make sure it's done. Palestine, this is done. Yeah, they've been busted. Israel, they can't carry this out. The rise of consciousness and humanity through Jesus the Christ is changing the Antichrist and the process that it's fulfilling. Taking over Israel, wiping out the human race, bringing in homosexuality, and harassing every good holy person in the world from going to sacred sites and being in a pilgrimage in peace. Without that sacred site being a war zone because it's a sacred site. And liars like the Dalai Lama, like the head of China, like Netanyahu, like Trump, like Kushner, they don't care anything at all. They have no conscience whatsoever. Not zero. I mean, that's an amazing thing, don't you think? How can you live without a conscience? But all you have to do is look straight in the eye of Kushner. He's soulless. Look straight in the eye of Trump. He is a soulless man. Look straight in the eye of Netanyahu. He is a soulless man. A lying, deceptive human being that has not been busted yet. And he will be.
Somehow against your religion.
The Jewish religion forbids, since the destruction of the temple 2,000 years ago, we were given an edict, a decree by God, It's a prophecy of King Solomon that we ought not to attempt to recreate our sovereignty. Even 1 inch of Jewish sovereignty, even in an uninhabited land, is expressly forbidden. And we Jews wait for the day when God will make a miracle where all humanity will serve him in harmony. We won't have to convince an atheist that there is a God. Everybody will recognize God, and then we will all go up and serve him. Prior to that event, we are...
Now listen to that. It doesn't matter if you're an atheist. It doesn't matter if you're a Satanist. You're all going to be healed. That's what God told them. Wait for the healing. Now the Zionists and the Christians created another Bible. And they say it's rapture. Not a Messiah. It's rapture. We're all called up rather than everybody healed. We're all called up and healed. In rapture, it's about judgment. These are good people, these are bad people. God judges. God destroys the earth and everything in it. Well, that isn't all that God says. In the beginning of creation, God had fallen angels. And those fallen angels were thrown to earth. And they were put in a specific location. And they were put in chains inside the earth until the day that I just spoke of. The day that it's not rapture. It's a process where people are hit by the energy of the fallen angels, and they are themselves as evil in the same sense that God judged them. He's going to use those angels to judge the unrighteous. They're all going to identify with each other, and they're going to burn up in hell in the moment. Mass death by the releasing of these incredibly evil angelic beings that are fallen, been chained, held back by God. It's declared in the Bible. In the second coming, this is what happens. But there's a sign that has to happen. Yeah? The river of, I think it's Jordan or the Euphrates or something. Let me show you. I've got it here. This is it.
Did you know that this Bible prophecy is happening right in front of your eyes and nobody's talking about it? The Bible says in the book of Revelation that one of the signs we are in the last days is that the great river Euphrates will dry up. Well, this is the current state of that river. It's drying up. But that's not the crazy part. What's underneath the river will shock you. The Bible says that when the fallen angels fell down to the earth, God chained them up and put them under the great Euphrates River. And in the last days, when this river begins to dry up, there will be a massive horn that will be blasted, and these angels will be released. And they will actually be allowed by God to slaughter 1/3 of the world's population. If you want to know the truth about the fallen angel Bible prophecy, go watch the video that I pinned in the comments.
Yep. You might want to, I know you don't read the Bible a lot, and you got your own Bibles that tell you homosexuality is great and all this stuff. But my father is a very critical dude. He's very critical, extreme to the extreme. And the process is held in the Jewish faith. Yeah. So there's a strong, adamant reality, not only just this reality of the coming of these angels and the change inside of humanity by a massive destructive force, yeah? But there's also the truth aspect, the element of truth that comes from the people who are in the process of Judaism and the rabbis truth in relationship to God. And it's not a Zionic kind of thing. It's what I was showing you.
Somehow against your religion. Somehow against your religion.
The Jewish religion.
So what he's saying is that Zionists are against the religion this rabbi is spouting, is saying he is of this religion. You're going to find out that his religion is the original religion of Judaism that goes all the way back to Adam and Eve, you know, and it actually stems from Moses, you know. So their teaching, their understanding has a very long process to it, thousands of years, thousands, you know. So he's adamant about it being true. But the Zionists broke away and created a whole other religion, a whole other Bible, a whole other purpose. Yeah? And theirs is the same as the Christians who believe in the process of there being, rapture. You know, rather than the fact that there is the process of the second coming and what that really means. What that really means. In this case, they know the coming of the Messiah. That's what Jews are about. Their whole thing is that the lineage process prophesies the coming of the Lord and the change inside of humanity when that final action takes place. Yeah. So they're basing all their faith on this. The coming of the Lord. They're Christians. Yeah. Yeah. Just that, you know, we don't call it Christ. You know, in their relationship, it's a Jewish Messiah, yeah. But in the end, that Messiah is Christ. Yeah? So they're holding on to that, and they're incredibly embarrassed by the actions, activity, and the system that's gone out, that everybody recognizes as being Judaism, and it's not. They're Zionists. And this is what they feel about.
Since the destruction of the temple 2,000 years ago, we were given an edict, a decree by God. It's a prophecy of King Solomon that we ought not to attempt to recreate our sovereignty, even 1 inch of Jewish sovereignty, even in an uninhabited.
Now, God, and through the Solomon edict, presented, you know, that look, if you eat from this tree, this apple, bad shit's going to happen. Yeah? If you do this, bad shit's going to happen. Yeah. If I give you these tablets, you have to build an ark and you have to make protection for the person who's going to go near it because bad shit's going to happen. Read the Bible. It says that. Aaron was the one who was the only one near the tablets, and he was a relative to Moses. He carried the transmission of God's belief and faith, which is what these Jews are all about, knowing that God is very judgmental. Yeah? God lays laws down. If you don't abide by those laws, God's going to judge you. That's God. That's why they say you should be afraid of God. You should have a conscience because it's coming. Judgment is coming. If you do not follow a holy life, judgment is coming. And you have the time to repent. You have the time to redeem yourself. You have the time to become a better person and repent. Because God's judgment comes upon you, which is your conscience. And you become aware of your wrongness in the eyes of God, because God is judging you. That's the Holy Spirit. It's not an evil thing. It puts you straight. It puts you back with God. You're pushed out of the house of God because you judge yourself. God doesn't judge you in that way. When God judges you, God puts you right, not put you in jail, not make Palestine what it is and all that. So this is what they say.
Land is expressly forbidden, and what we Jews wait for the day when God will make a miracle, where all humanity will serve Him in harmony. We won't have to convince an atheist that there is a God. Everybody will recognize God, and then we will all go up and serve Him. Prior to that event, we are expressly forbidden to try to attempt to make any Jewish nationalism sovereignty, and this was respected and upheld.
Now the reason for that, because they were meant to be non-material. So this Zionist reality makes these Jews into materialists that want land, that want money, that want governing, they want all these things. But it's not who they are. They're atheists. They're Satanists. They follow Satan. God warned them, don't do this. Your nature will take you to the opposite side. You'll follow the evil spirit. You'll become the embodiment of the evil spirit. Don't do this. Yeah? You can't do these things. God said that to these people. Yeah? So they had to pray every day in order to release their desire for change, their desire for another alternative plan rather than what God gave them. Yeah? So check this out.
By Jews throughout the trials and tribulations of the Inquisition, the Crusades, and every time period of Judaism, when they were easily capable of buying land, they never did it because they understood this is against the will of the Almighty, and this is not what it means to be a Jew.
Once again, this is not an opinion that you hear expressed very often. Are you in a minority? Is this simply your reading of the Torah?
No, this is the view of Judaism and Jews who are practicing the religion. Who are around the world. You will find invariably any religious community that is very religious. We carry around, first we have called the rabbis speak out. This is the leaders of Judaism from Sephardic, Ashkenazic, in other words, European, Middle Eastern, any country. The rabbis, when Zionism came, the concept of Zionism was developed, the Jewish rabbinical authorities universally said, no, this is forbidden for us to do. The reason being that it is not the concept of subservience to God, it's a nationalism, and in its actions, when it comes into fruition, when they created the state, the concept of stealing from people, killing, stealing, is all forbidden according to the Torah. So in every facet, Zionism is a rebellion against the command of God.
Now, do you understand that? That's important to understand. These are atheist, pagan people. Yeah? And they are totally capable of world nuclear holocaust. Jews. Yeah? Zionists. Yeah, and they're going to say, oh, watch out, because Iran's doing it, and they're going to attack us, and they got all the nuclear bombs. So that's why we're sitting over here with 180 nuclear bombs, and we tell you we only have 6. We're not very advanced. No one's checking out. Yeah? We say, oh, we don't trust Iran. They're evil. They're so bad. We got to keep them from building up a nuclear reactor and all that. And that's all true. Well, what about Israel? They're doing the same thing. And they're actually doing what we're saying you shouldn't do. And they have a fulfillment. They have a fulfillment in their alternative religion of Zion. A Holocaust, a nuclear war. Just like Christians do. When they have this alternative religion that they built up that allows for homosexuality and mass murder. Own as many guns as you want,
Jewish people considering Christians as idols worshippers. Why? Because Jewish people, first of all, they don't know Christianity. The majority of Jewish people, they don't know. We've never been taught Christians' rules and to know if it's wrong or right. Like, we just know that it's wrong. That person is saying, that man was no man. He was not a man. He was God. It's God. He was God and He is God and He will always stay God. For us, simple Jewish people that are following halakha, that's a mistake. Based on the teachings and learnings I've been exposed to, tradition that we inherit from our ancestors, you can never say that something else except for God is God. You cannot. You cannot.
That's why they can't accept Jesus Christ. Because they have within a pagan reality a belief system. If you go back to same people, these are the people that followed Moses. They're called Israelites, Jews. They followed him for 40 years. They get to the tablets. What are they doing while he's up on that mount? What's that mount called? Mount Zion. And on top of that is a burning bush, and God takes these tablets and uses his finger to write. And out of it comes 10 commandments. Actually, there were more, but Moses broke one. I don't know if you know that, but that's true. Yeah, so these are the people of that time. These are the people of that time. They feel persecuted, yeah, by Egypt. They were kicked out of Egypt, yeah, and Egypt is right next to Israel. Yeah? So that location of Palestine, because of Jesus, who made it a place, they believed they have to take that place. Yeah, where all the holiness was brought. Yeah, the relationship of Moses, the relationship of the tablets, the writing and the relationship of Solomon, the building of the temple, the process of, the mound, the temple on the mound, yeah, which is where the 10 Commandments went. And it's all in connection, all the way going back to God, trying to continue a covenant with humanity and get them to go the right direction. But what were these people doing while Moses was up there doing that? They were pagan worshippers of Satan. They took all the gold they had and melted it and made a cow to worship the cow, Baphomet. That's who these people are, who believe that they were chosen. And now you watch that story. Who's Moses? Moses is a pharaoh, a king. As a baby, he was thrown into a basket and put in the river to die. And he didn't. Someone found him. Yeah, and he was raised. And he found out that he's actually a pharaoh. But the process of pharaohs and everything is that they didn't believe in God. That they believed in magic, astrology, numerology, magicians and wizards. And the king at the time had a wizard. Yeah, real wizard. I mean, he created snakes out of staffs. So how'd that story go? Story went that Moses confronted this king with his staff and himself, not as a holy man, but as a wizard. And the king said, "Prove yourself over my wizards, if you're a man of God." And a wizard is not a man of God. So Moses turns his staff into a snake and kills the other guy's snake. Yeah, and he wins over the devil. But that's the devil beating the devil. It's wizardry. It has nothing to do with anything. Then you get the story that they walk through an entire river. Not just a river, but an ocean. It spreads open wide. And they can walk through it. And all those that are following him in persecution are killed by the power of the wizard. Moses. Great Moses. You know, you should learn something from this. You know, Adam wasn't a wizard. Jesus is not a wizard. Yeah. David was not a wizard. So follow that story from Moses. And it goes from many generations. These people, they follow this Torah, the history of the original Bible. And it has historical add-ons that go into it. Oh, here we are with Moses now. And he does this, and we do that, and we get this, and we have that. Well, if you read it, it looks like they're destined to go back to Israel. Are they? According to this Jew that I just showed you, who's one of the senior rabbis of real Jews, just simply doesn't believe that. There's no lineage like that. Yeah, he knows that he's part of that. Yeah, he's part of that group of people that melted that cow and had to take refuge and learn to become holy and study and practice and develop Judaism. Judaism, not Zionism. Zionism would be the process of Moses on Mount Zion, getting back to Israel. As though that's what the story's all about. And it's not. It's not. It's about the coming of the Christ. It's about the coming of the Messiah. It's about saving the whole world. Healing atheists.
Jewish people
Se olvidaron que por petróleo invadieron a Irak, a Siria, a Libia. Se olvidaron.
Pay attention to this. This is a man who's the head. He's in the UN. He's making a speech clarifying what is really going on with Palestine. What is an apartheid? Are these people in the middle of an apartheid, and should we turn our attention towards saving Palestine and not persecuting Palestine? Join along with this process?
Que las mismas razones que se expresan para defender a Zelensky son las mismas razones con las que se debería defender.
He's comparing this to the Israel Zionites, to Putin and Russia, and their relationship to Zelensky and taking over that country. And that we see that as a problem. We don't like Putin. We don't like Russia. We don't like communism. And we don't want that to happen. But we are completely the wool is being pulled over our eyes so that we do not see the real true evil that's taking place in Israel.
A Palestina. Se olvidaron que para cumplir los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible había que cesar todas las guerras, pero ayudaron a aprender una, porque al poder mundial le convenía en su juego de tronos, en los juegos del hambre.
He's comparing Israel to the Game of Thrones, to the Hunger Games, to the evilest of movies and TV shows we've got going on, to describe what is really happening here.
Y se olvidaron de acabar la otra, porque el poder no le convenía acabarla. ¿Cuál diferencia entre Ucrania y Palestina, pregunto? ¿No es hora de acabar ambas guerras y otras y aprovechar el corto tiempo para construir los caminos para salvar la vida en el planeta?
There's over 900.
Yeah, check this out. The origin of the Catholic Church comes from this process of their churches that they got in the beginning. I think this is it. Let me see. Yeah. Oh no, this is a different one. This is the guy who, yeah, check it out.
This ISIS leader meets Jesus in prison. Check it out.
And a voice that says, I forgive you. And didn't understand. Allah is forgiving and merciful. But we cannot know His forgiveness till the day of judgment. So I said, who are you that forgives me? And I feel forgiven today. And he said, I am the way, the truth, and the light. And I did not understand what that means because I had never heard those words. So I said, what is your name? He said, Jesus. Still let me go. Fell on the floor. And I said, what?
Click follow or subscribe.
He's a Muslim in prison. Yeah, a terrorist. You'd think he'd never be forgiven. But inside his head, I speak to him and tell him he's going to be okay. And then I forgive him. And God forgives him. And can you feel it? And he could feel it. He was overwhelmed. How could this be possible? God does not forgive. Only on the day you die, when everybody is healed, according to Muslim, you're not forgiven. But he experienced the process of forgiveness and couldn't figure out where this is coming from. And he asked, who are you? And Jesus says that he is the truth, the way, and the light. Yeah, and that's the way it is. It's not because the church says that. It's not because some religious leader says that's what you should believe in me. It's not that. Yeah, I am the truth. Yeah, the way and the light. And everything, all these teachings is just that. Just that. I'm just showing you the light. And you will be forgiven. Yeah, because you're going to see that you're part of the problem. That you believe Israel should be Israel where it's at. And you believe that what's going on in many places is right. And it's not.
So what brings you here today?
To support Palestinian rights. We as Jews are embarrassed what's happening there in the state of Israel, in the Jewish name.
And what's your message to the people of Palestine?
They shouldn't give up the struggle. They should continue to fight and not give up the struggle against the state of Israel, because by the end, Palestine will be free, because this is truth. Will succeed by the end.
What's your message to the people of Palestine?
They should know. We feel very shame what's going on there, especially they're doing everything in our name, in the name of Jews, in the name of the Torah, in the name of God. It's so shameful. We are with you. You have to know. The Zionists are strong. We are weak. But God is on our side. At the end of the day, the Palestinian flag will be on all Palestine, from the river to the sea.
And that's truth. Now, these are holy people who have, for thousands of years, been holding together as much as they possibly could. But Zionists makes them look bad. Now listen to him. I like this guy. He's a great minister. He's a very powerful, you'll see, in his presence, he's a very powerful minister.
And a piece of advice to Israel. People of Israel, whether you are Jewish or a Palestinian, you will never find peace. You will never accomplish peace. You will never live peace ever, until that both Jews and Muslims acknowledge Jesus was crucified on Calvary. There will be no peace in Israel, period. Because the one who gives peace is Jesus of Nazareth. No one else. No one else.
So what brings you here today?
To support Palestinian rights.
And that's the truth. The process of Israel is what Israel's going through, and it just is what it is. I took all of my Sangha, all my monks and nuns, and I took them to Israel because I knew this was coming down. I knew at that time I can keep it safe. When I arrived there, I think in 2015, the head rabbi, the oldest rabbi of Israel, who's not a Zionist, experienced me coming into his room. And he was the only one in the room. And I sat down and talked to him and told him, you know, what you're witnessing is me, the Messiah. And he just was overwhelmed because I appeared rather than knock on the door or call him on the phone. I just appeared and explained that I was the Messiah and told him my name is Jesus and that he's okay and that he won't be judged for what they've said and done against Jesus, and that he's forgiven. But he needs to tell people he's met the Messiah, and I have returned. So he did that. And you can check the newspaper. And the oldest guy, the oldest rabbi, had a vision. Jesus was in the room with them. They had a talk. He realized that it was Jesus who is the Messiah, and he's returned. And that shocked everybody in the Jewish faith. You know, and then he died right after that. You know, so there wasn't a lot of time to do anything or ask any questions. You know, and so that happened in 2015. And out of that, you know, my process was that I went there and there's a place in Bethlehem Yeah, and we went there. I took everybody, all my students. I took my family, anybody who could come with me and said they would. And I took my wife's family, anybody that would come that said they would. And, we had a lot of people. These are the people that I brought. All those people. And, I took them everywhere. I walked them around and gave them a guide so that they could be told everything and shown everything. And they then went from there to Glastonbury, the first Church of Jesus Christ. So I went into Bethlehem, and here I am, inside of a location of the birth, place where I was born. And the Zionists came and got me. And they grabbed me and pulled me out and said, "Get rid of this guy." And so they pushed me out of the place. But I was able to do this, and I was able to bless the whole earth. And this is where I was at. You can see my body inside this cave-like thing. And I put my Vajra down on that and pushed my hand inside that hole with the Vajra. And this is what I'm doing here. Yeah. So they got kind of freaked out. But no one could see what I was doing. So I went ahead and did that. And we all had gone here. This is Bethlehem here. Walking into Bethlehem. And, so I do all this. I take everybody there and, knowing what's going on, and give as much blessings as I can to the earth and this location and everything. And so it's quite a process, the energy of the earth, for me to return there, for me to also meet with the senior rabbi and explain to him my presence on earth, and to help bring about, everybody to deal with this rabbi saying that he has come across the Messiah, and the Messiah is Jesus of all people. But you don't hear anything about that anymore. It's completely gone. No mention of the senior rabbi coming in contact with Jesus and realizing that he's the Messiah. But it did happen, and so since it happened, it's laid down in the truth, and layers of lies, harm, Palestinians being killed, all these things, that walls that went up right after I left, everything, hostility grew beyond belief, to the edge of a nuclear war, which is where they're at today. And I'm the one who went in and is pushing this into transition for healing. So there's little anybody knows. You see this war in Palestine, you think Hamas is like the evilest terrorists on the planet, and they're Palestinians. They're not. They're terrorist groups of Muslims that are Palestinian and have extreme anger and reason as to why they're angry at Israel, and why they are at war with Israel, and why they're doing what they're doing. It's not, war is not a justified thing. It's a horrible thing, but their reason as to why it's going on is understandable. And you need to come to the understanding so you don't follow the Antichrist. So you're going to be thinking Trump should be president and he shouldn't go to prison. That's the Antichrist. That's the Antichrist enters your mind, your emotions. It deludes you with the view of the world. And it supports the Antichrist and all the plan the Antichrist has to destroy humanity's humanity. Yeah, there's just, it is what it is. It is the truth. Yeah. So let's do a puja. Today we're going to do a soul I walk on earth. So what this is in the beginning, I invoke angels to create a peace process. Yeah. So listen very closely. This is very much connected to my helping. Yeah. And so I'm doing something. And I'm a magi. Yeah. I'm not a magician. I'm a magi, which means a very high level initiate of God that has enormous abilities telepathically to bring God into this so that God can reorder things. Yeah? Imagine if things are way off, pushed like you have a scale, and everything is weighing down on the left-hand side. And all that weight is hate and anger and activities. All that weight. Yeah. And every year, every month, every day, that builds up. Because they're actions and activities and belief systems. So that builds up over there. Yeah. And then I come. And I absorb all that hate. I absorb it. And it just keeps getting added to, but I keep absorbing it. So the scale that I'm sitting on, which is I am the scale, yeah, and the side that I'm sitting on, which is the light, yeah, is putting light on the darkness. And the darkness is heavy, even though it seems like it's just darkness, but it's extremely heavy. And it weighs down any possibility of recognizing the light or its effect. Yeah. So we go with the anger, the hostility, the fear, all the things that are built up from the hate and the lies and the delusion and the belief system behind it. Yeah. So it's not a real thing. So it requires an invocation, evocation on an angelic level. And it's just like these fallen angels that are going to be used by God to vibrate against that darkness and be redeemed at the same time. And the light of those energetic fields, those processes of darkness and evil that were judged by God, goes into the mixed pool of humanity. And this judgment that God placed upon them is going to go directly into humanity, who has the same identity as fallen angels, as a fallen angel against God, and the atheist. Yeah. So that it's going to hit like a ton of bricks. And it's very pinpoint, very specific. Nobody else is going to get hit. It's not going to be a nuclear war. It's not going to destroy a nation. Not going to do anything like that. It's very specific. Yeah. It is a weight against a weight. And it won't affect anything else. Yeah. And it will take the weight off of humanity, and they will experience the light. And that's just what's going on. All my invocations, all my work, all my tools, the monastery, my incarnation, all of that is to absorb the darkness that is imbalancing humanity and bring it back to balance, which is in a state of nature in our DNA. We are all holy beings. It's in our DNA. God is in there. Yeah. The next time I do a class, I'll show you the RNA, DNA that is connected to God, that expresses the letters of God, Yod-He, Vod-He, which I've always taught to be the name of God. Yod-He, Vod-He is in our DNA, in our RNA DNA. Yeah, literally those letters, Yod-He, Vod-He, is spelled out. So we have within all of us, in our own DNA, God. God. We come from God. And we are evolved into matter. And we can screw that up pretty bad. Every day Every hour, as matter is building, we could take darkness and mutate it and transmute it and turn it into something it was never meant to be. Yeah. So enjoy my puja. Yeah. The invocations are very powerful words. They're to counteract what it is I've been teaching. Yeah. So listen closely. Listen closely, because angels do. Yeah. And I'm unlocking doors. I'm unlocking things, that have been locked. Yeah, because of evil. Yeah. So all that is in transition. God gives Jesus the Christ full and complete power to carry out the reorganization of holiness on earth. It's not that Jesus is judging. God is judging. Jesus is just doing the process to initiate the invocation. Yeah. It's a formula that's required by God to pray. And if you listen to my pujas, you're hearing the most powerful prayer you'll ever imagine. And this is for Palestine. This is for humanity. Yeah? So listen to this.
I am a messenger of light. I am a pilgrim on the way of love. I do not walk alone, but I know myself as one with all great souls, and one with them in service. Their strength is mine. This strength I claim. My strength is theirs, and this I freely give. A soul, I walk on earth. I represent the One. God moves the world. The past has gone. I am that past. It makes me what I am. The future comes. I also am the coming destiny and therefore I am that. The present flows from out the past. The future colors that which is. I make the future also by my present knowledge of the past and the beauty of the present. And therefore I am that I am. Within the circle of the will of God I stand. Without the radius of the world of glamour I take my place. And there I stand. Before the open door that just reveals a different lighted way, I take my stand. Before the presence, I will take my place, and there will firmly stand. And stand I see. Love is the incentive of our aspiration on the path. Love is the substance of our living in the world. Love is the light and the light of freedom from all creatures. Love pulses through the universe in a divine rhythm. Love is the consciousness of God. May the holy ones whose disciple I am show me the light I seek. May all mankind, may all humanity of all knowledge, may all light on earth make manifest the soul in all things, all life. I invoke the radiant golden sun to manifest the thread of the soul into the kingdoms of the elementals, into the kingdoms of the vegetables, the animals, into the astral plane. I invoke all humanity to become the caretakers of the kingdom of God. I invoke the will of God as the soul. I stand before the judgment seat of my soul. I am that soul. All love and light am I serve the world and lose myself in service. This is my life, and this is the way that I will tread until the day be with us all. The awakening in the consciousness of humanity, the family of humanity, to bring forth points of energy within themselves, inaugurating certain new techniques in work and in modes of communication. I invoke the group of telepathic communicators. I invoke the group of trained observers. I invoke the group of magnetic healers. I invoke the group of the educators of this new age. I invoke the group of political organizers. I invoke the group of the workers in the field of religion. I invoke the group of scientific servers. I invoke the group of psychologists. I invoke the group of financiers and economists. I invoke all creative workers as the new group. I invoke the externalization of the inner existing of conditions within these groups through the manifestation and the externalization of the avatar.
Okay, just relax. So if you listen to that, it's a prayer from Jesus to God. And it talks about how I have an allegiance to holy ones. And they lead me to the truth. And I am from the past history of this planet. And it's instilled in me. And so is the present and the future. And I could see the real truth of the past and not be moved by Zion. Not be moved by false prophets like the Pope or the Dalai Lama. Because I am the past. And I am the present who teaches about the past. And I clarify the past so that it won't repeat itself, because I'm in prayer at all times, constantly. And I fight against this particular person, along with Trump, but this particular person is the one who seeked me out as Jesus and killed every boy in Palestine. Every boy. He did this. This man I'm going to show you, his name is Herod Kushner. Yeah. Actually Jared, but I call him Herod. Because that's who he is. And he's back. And I'm back. And we all come back. And I'm the past. I'm the tree of life. And God moves the world. Maybe you don't know this, but all holy people do. We are small in number, but we are with God. And we believe in God's creation and the true history of this world that God created and the events that God put together and the process of evil. Evil people and evil that they manifest. Just like this.
You up on what you said, because if indeed this is a basis for negotiations and the Palestinians do take up the offer and come to the United States or to the administration, try to negotiate, you know, that's one thing. So I want to ask you then, you called it a conceptual map, and you've called this a basis for negotiations. The Israeli Prime Minister has stated that this weekend he will impose the laws of the state of Israel, those are the words out of his mouth, on the Jordan Valley, on those areas in the West Bank, he calls it Judea and Samaria, where there are settlements and other such places, and presumably over Jerusalem as well, or I don't know about Eastern Jerusalem, but nonetheless, if that happens this weekend, is that with the approval of the United States?
Yeah, I don't believe that's going to happen this weekend, at least not as far as I know, but again...
Not this weekend, but we all look at the news today, and guess what? His plan came about.
Again, a lot of these areas, just the reality is that Israel's there, and they're not.
Israel is there, and they're not going away. Check this out.
Is that Israel's there, and they're not leaving. There's never been a deal where they've contemplated doing it, and it's not pragmatic. I'm not looking at the world as it existed in 1967. I'm looking at the world as it exists in 2020.
He's looking at the world as it exists after 1967, when the Zions took over Palestine.
You have 5 million Palestinians who are really trapped because of bad leadership. So what we've done is we've created an opportunity for their leadership to either seize or not.
To either cease from existing or not.
If they screw up this opportunity, which again, they have a perfect track record of missing opportunities.
Right. So he has a plan by pushing this envelope to the edge. He knows that they're not going to take that opportunity. To them, that's going to be revolt and a violent war that the Palestinians initiated as an aggressive act against kind-hearted Mr. Kushner. Yeah? But in reality, his idea is to wipe them off the face of the earth because Jesus could be amongst them. That's the truth. This man believes that Jesus Christ is going to show up in Palestine just like he did before, and he needs to make sure all the children, all the adults are deader than a doornail every day until he's assured that Jesus was killed.
If they screw this up, I think that they will have a very hard time looking the international community in the face, saying they're victims, saying they have rights. This is a great deal for them.
Saying they have rights. His deal was that he closed down electricity. He cut off their water. He closed all road access for Palestinians to the hospital. No medical service whatsoever. Yeah. That's his deal. That's his deal. And right after that, they attacked a festival. And then they attacked Israel. And there were maybe about 200 people killed from their attack. There was over 120,000 people made homeless and killed in Palestine, Palestinians. And the goal is to completely wipe them out, because they will not take on the government of Israel and let go of this Christian Jesus idea.
You up on what you said, because if indeed this is a basis for negotiations and the Palestinians do take up the offer and come to the United States or to the administration, try to negotiate, you know, that's one thing. So I want to ask you then, you called it a conceptual map, and you've called this a basis for negotiation.
Cold hard. This guy is the most cold-hearted being. I mean, none of you get any of this because you can't see. You can't see. You're veiled by all these delusions. So many of them, the Dalai Lama, the Pope, Israel, everything. You're veiled by that. And it is the Antichrist that's doing it. Because the Antichrist knows the Christ is here and coming. So, I'm going to end this and take a good look at the situation in Palestine. Know that the Palestinian is Jesus. Yeah. And that it has nothing to do with me in Israel or me in Palestine or anything like that. But it has to do with God and being holy and creating a holy world and transmitting the soul that is God's will into every living thing and bring about world peace. It's not a logical thing, a decision that we have to make by joining Judaism or Muslims or Christianity. It comes out of me, transmits into you, because I know the truth, and the truth will set you free. The history of this planet is a lie, but there is a true history. And that is what will set you free. Because then you can let go of all your ambition to fulfill the past of persecution. You can see it for what it really is. All right. So, do your best to listen to my pujas. A Soul I Walk on Earth is the one we just watched or listened to. Listen to it a lot. It is a prayer. Yeah. And if you want to pray, pray with me. Listen to my pujas very clearly. It's like you're in church and you're listening to the priests say things that are very holy. And you're trying to take it in. Because that's a very holy person saying these very holy things. And they're a little bit above you. But they're raising you up into your soul. And your soul's going to judge you. That's just what it does. And you're going to come out clean, supporting the coming of God and the externalization of godliness throughout the world. All right. So let's take it easy. Enjoy. Thank you very much for